Mission Hope, inspirational stories of faith and triumph. Life's many upheavals, sharp curves, twists and turns, the challenging circumstances coming right at you, are non-stop. The inner wars within are outside your control and feel overwhelming. You feel alone, and the seemingly endless battles rage on. You feel like you have lost all hope and faith, questioning, why me? Why now? How can I handle another blow? The answers you're seeking are in this collection of 20 uplifting stories in this book. Within its golden pages, from the deep confines of their hearts and souls, these extraordinary authors have opened up and are here to assist you in navigating the deep, daunting, and dark waters that you are facing. Each story is unique in its experience, but similar in the fact that through everything presented to them in life, these authors have found the way back to success, peace, and joy through hope and faith. These authors have turned tragedy into tranquility once again. Now, they are here to empower you, to shift from what once was fear and failure into the future of your dreams. They offer as a gift to you the freedom to choose your destiny. Now, it's time to turn the key and walk through the door. Hear from the authors themselves as they share their journey and story with you, here on Living the Next Chapter.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. We are looking at round 2 of Shar Murphy's book, and I get to talk to amazing authors for book 2. I love being a part of this process and be a little bit of the behind the scenes of getting this book into the world. I have a great guest coming back for round 2. Brad is back again, and he's written another chapter with Shar, and I'm excited to have Brad back on the podcast. We had a great conversation for book 1. Here we are again for book 2. It's great to see Brad on my screen. Brad, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter.
Oh, it's nice to be here again. It's funny to be back and be able to see a dear friend again and be able to go ahead and talk about an amazing compilation of authors and stories. And, I think it talks from the heart. I think that's so vital today.
And we just chatted for a little bit before we hit record, and I already feel like inspired just by a pre-chat before we even hit start. So I love the fact that I get a chance to interact with you again. It's exciting for me. It's got to be exciting for you as well to be back for book 2.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, right? Absolutely. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
When did you know you were part of book 2? Did you know back in book 1 or?
I actually did know that I was going to be part of that, Shar and I talked about that a great deal. Okay. And she said, are you going to commit to the next book? And I said, absolutely. I said, I'd love to go ahead and do that. And she talked about, well, it's going to be about faith. And she goes, do you have a story? And I go, yeah, I have a really good story. I think that people are going to be able to relate to.
I love it. And this round, too, I've heard from the other authors that there's a good sense of community happening within the group of authors where you have access to each other and you're doing life together. There's a chat feature that she set up for all of you. And can you talk a little bit about the community around book 2 now?
Yes, it really is amazing to be able to share with the co-authors of this really amazing series. They're very different, but yet we all have that same heart for looking at life and be able to bring things to color, be able to color in the lines. I think people end up looking at the sketches, and then when we end up speaking to one another, we're there to encourage one another. And I think that that's one of the things that for this group is really special. And to have a conductor or maestro, when you end up taking a look at either an orchestra or a singing group, you have that one person that's really drawing and being able to identify the great collection of individuals to being able to bring a vision to work. Shar has done that masterfully.
Yeah. She has a gift, for sure. Tell me a little bit about your chapter. What's the title of your chapter for this book? Well,
it's funny you should mention that because my brain actually went blank.
See,
it did as I so hey, listen, I look at it as nobody is perfect, but I can end up pulling that up. It's called Discovering the Path to Joy Through Faith.
Nice.
And I think that it ends up happening often, and I could do a quick plug.
Yeah.
Get the book if they can see it.
Look at it right there. Yep.
So great book, great compilation of individuals. How do you want me to go ahead and start and lead
I
into
want
that?
to know when you said Shar asked you if you had something you could write about in regards to faith. It sounds like you were immediately something came to mind.
Oh
And
yeah.
again, we chatted a little bit, but I'd love to kind of. First, let's start with your definition of faith, because I've heard
Mm,
different definitions from the author's perspective, which
right.
is interesting.
Yeah.
Where does your definition lie when we talk faith?
Well, for me, from a spiritual standpoint, I have a very deep faith in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior.
Good.
There's a lot of people that are out there is like may turn off from at this particular point, and I get that, and I was a lot of those same type of people. But when you start seeing something that's even greater than you, whatever your definition might be, you have to take a look at something that is greater than yourself. And for me, I know where that greatness, is present from and how that got there. So for me, I know what that is and how that shapes me. Even though that there's been times when people's faith and trust have been shaken, I think what ends up happening is during that time, see things that are proven. It's very similar to, for a jeweler that's doing some very hot refinement of different alloys and silver and gold. They'll melt it and they'll have that stuff that's ended up coming off. And it's like, okay, I got to pull off the dross in order to get the very best, to be able to get that highest purity.
Yeah.
And really, that's where we're at every single day as we're going through. For me personally, that's how I view it. And it's in that refinement. We don't get to that level of amazement without having to go some level of, despair or challenge in life for more intensive purposes. I've seen that many, many times. I saw that as a result of the loss of my dad, the loss of relationships, the loss of, my daughter. So each one of those is, people say, how are you able to go ahead and deal with that? The only way that I've been able to handle things, sometimes not real well, because I didn't allow the greater to come in and help me.
Right. And yeah, when we look back at the book one as well, that was a great
Mm-hmm.
conversation. And you definitely took us for a journey in book one. Was it difficult to sit down and write book two, or did it just kind of flow?
It's funny. Initially, I said, okay, what am I going to end up writing about? But I really knew. I knew ahead of time. And I had this absolutely amazing woman in my life that, I still have no idea how I was blessed with her. I really don't, other than the fact it's through the power of prayer. Uh, when I met Maria back in May of 2021, I was a totally different person. I was really unsure. There was a lot of things that I was still repairing internally and taking a look at things. I was not settled. I did not have a good sense of myself. I think people would say you would beat yourself up an awful lot, and I was still doing that. I was getting better, but I still hadn't fully healed from all this self-imposed self-sabotage, self-trauma that I performed on myself for so long. And then as you're going through that, I made some conscious decisions. When I first met her, I thought to myself, here's this beautiful woman that I meet in a restaurant. And I just look at her, I'm just like, I kid you not, my jaw just dropped, and my thought is, she is way too elegant for me. And I'm thinking, I'm talking to her, and I'm trying to place the accent. And, for me, I'm thinking, well, beautiful Latina. And I'm just like, is that Spanish? Not knowing that the main language in Brazil was Portuguese.
Yeah.
But we were able to have a great conversation and a time together, and we parted. It was her birthday not too long before that, so I got her some flowers, and I got her a coffee cup. So just reminding of our meeting to have coffee. And it wasn't too much longer after that. It was really the next day, and I'm like, I'm just not. I'm not feeling in alignment with myself. I'm not feeling that I'm ready for any type of relationship whatsoever. And so I just told her, I said, I'm just not ready yet. I'm sorry, but I'm just not ready to continue dating. So at that particular point, I really stopped dating altogether. I stopped utilizing alcohol as a numbing agent too, for that matter. I mean, someone said, would you have a problem? I said, no, I just didn't want it in my life. And I just stopped. I just don't anymore. It's just not something that's present. But during that time frame, as I'm looking at these aspects of my life and what did I want to do? Who do I want to be? What are the things that I want to be known for me personally? And it's not for validation for anybody else. It's how am I going to make an impact for somebody else? And what are the things that I need to do? At that particular time, it was just saying, I've been living for self for so long that I really needed to re-engage with that component of my life that was probably more important than anything else. That was my faith, and looking at how do I become more. And it's not more from the standpoint of wealth or materialism or any of those other things. It's how do I make an impact in the world for good and still be able to do the things that are meaningful. And how I found that out really was words. And as I started exploring different aspects of my personality and things that I wanted to deal with and how do I want to approach it, I started looking at aspects of leaving the United States. So I went and talked to my boss about, hey, I've been working quite a bit lately and you're real happy with my work. And he says, absolutely. And I said, I'm thinking about doing 100% remote. How would you feel about that? He goes, I have no problem with that. I says, how would you feel about me doing it remote, but not in the United States? And he goes, well, what are you thinking? I said, well, I'm just thinking about Ireland. I said, what would you think about me? Would that be a possibility that I'd still be able to do that and work for the company? And how would that benefit the company? Would that be something you'd be open to? And he says, absolutely. He says, as a matter of fact, he goes, there would be benefit for us. And a benefit to you, he says, why don't you investigate it? We'll talk more. And let's go ahead and just keep the lines of communication open. So I started looking at that and seeing what the costs were. And I was starting to develop my business from My Heart to Yours LLC. And my initial goal was really to help people in the same framework that I had been helped. You can get yourself into a self-narrative and thinking in a direction that faith is telling you, that's not the direction you need to go. I really want you to go here. And you keep saying no, but the greater says, I'm going to allow you to do that until a point when you become that realization that it's not working for you and it's not in alignment with what I want you to do. The same thing ended up happening for when Ireland started going on. Things started piling up. The costs started piling up for starting my business. I'm going, that's probably not going to work. And the only other thing that one of my prayers was, okay, God, the only other thing that's going to prevent me from leaving here is, and I said it flippantly, as I told you in our pre-meeting. Yeah. And I really just said it flippantly. I'm like, okay, here's the deal. The person that you're going to have to put in my path is going to have the kindest heart, is going to have to be willing to take me for who I am, accept me for everything that I've done, all my past, and help me make me a better man each day through their love and kindness. And, most important, she has to be Latina. So I'm thinking, I'm laughing. Now, mind you, I'm physically laughing at this. Yeah. I'm just going, that's going to happen. So, and I'm having this same prayer time every single day. I mean, every day it's just like clockwork. Okay, here's the things, take things out of my path. Lord, this is the things that I'm really looking forward to. And here's a person that I want in my life. And here's the conditions of the individual that I'm looking at. Right around mid to end of October, it's almost where you can end up having that deep sense that there's somebody in the room with you, but there's nobody there. And I hear this, and as I'm in prayer, my eyes are closed, and I'm just in prayer, and I just have my candle going. And so I have this, not only do I have this, mindset, and I'm listening to my breathing, and I can hear the candle cracking and some music going on in the background. All of a sudden, it's almost an audible voice saying, I've already introduced you to her. And I'm like, wow. The hairs on my arms, the back of my neck, they just kind of just do all this. And I'm like, what? what?
What?
And right now, I kid
Yeah.
you not, right on the
Yeah.
back of my neck, right now, I'm getting goosebumps on me right now. So I'm just thinking, yeah, no, that can't be. There's just no way. So I kept it up, and I'm like, I didn't want to say the name. I didn't want to say the name. I said, there's just no way. That can't be right. Nope. No, can't be right. So I said, Lord, you got to be wrong.
Yeah.
And right around, it was a couple of weeks later, and I just said, okay, I'm just going to, because I can't get it out of my head. And the only way that I can address those things is to address them verbally some way. So I still had Maria's phone number. So I just said, rather than talking to her, I'm just going to text her. So I just texted her, hey, listen, I know we haven't talked in a long time, but I would really like to establish a friendship. Would you be open to have coffee with me? I'll absolutely understand if you want to have nothing to do with me. And I left it at that.
Hmm.
It was a little while later, I get a text message back from her. Why? You haven't talked to me in months. Why do you want to talk to me now? And I just told her, I said, you have been on my mind an awful lot. You've been in my prayers. And I just wasn't ready back then. There was things that I was just dealing with, and I wasn't ready for someone like you. And I didn't want to be in that position where, because I wasn't ready, because of the things that I was dealing with, I didn't want them affecting you either.
Yeah.
So she says, well, I'm going to Brazil, which is her home country. And she's a dual citizen. And she says, well, I'm not going to be back until, I think she said December 3rd or the 4th. I said, okay. And she goes, and I'm not taking my phone either. And I said, okay. And I just remember, the next morning, I know she was getting ready to depart to go to the airport. And I just texted her very briefly. I said, I just wanted to tell you, make sure you have a good time when you're with your family and enjoy. Look forward to hearing from you when you get home. That was it. I didn't do the, over texting. So when she got back home, she'd have a million texts from me every day. I'm saying, no, I'm not doing that. That's not the person that I wanted to be. But I do say that the day that she did come back, I sent her a text message that says, welcome home. I hope you had a great time with your family.
Yeah.
Look forward to hearing from you. I want to say it was either that day or maybe the next. And she said, are you Catholic? And I said, no. And she goes, but would you be willing to meet me at my church and spend time with me? I said, absolutely. So I remember going in, and I saw her, gave her a hug, and I've forgotten how demure she was. She's very tiny. She's only about 5'2". I'm 5'9". And as we're sitting in church in the pew, I just remember holding her hand. And for those that, watch the movie Sleepless in Seattle, at the end with Tom Hanks, picks up the character's Annie's hand, and he just looks at it. He goes, it's just like home. And that's the way it felt like home. We left after that. She said, just leave your car. We're going to, I want to take you around. And she drove me by the house where she lived at here in the Detroit area. And it was just like, wow, that's huge. And so we drove around, and, we found there was a lot of things that were closed during that time. And I was just like, going, man, the place I wanted to take her to is this little coffee shop. And it was called Aos. And it's, at that particular time, I didn't know it, but it's like, a couple miles from my house. So we stopped there. We had coffee, and we got something to eat. And I just shared with her everything. I didn't leave anything out. I said, I'm going to be totally transparent, because I just lean into my core values. That was one of them was transparency and integrity, and the other one was just quality time. So I just wanted to be present for her and with her. And by telling her all of my history, I sat back and I said, okay, God, I'm going out in faith.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go ahead and share the good, the bad, and the ugly and see what happens. So I sat there after I told her everything. And she just looked at me for a minute and smiled the way she does, reached over and held my hand. She says, thank you for telling me. Bradley, there is no one that's perfect. You're a good man that made mistakes. And there's nothing I need to tell you that's going to do anything except for us to be good to one another. And that started a magical journey that has transpired for the last over 2 years. And Maria is no longer my girlfriend. She's my fiance, and we got engaged.
Wow.
We got engaged on September 30th. And
Nice.
for those that may or may not follow me on LinkedIn, they got an opportunity to see that happen. And she really is truly amazing. You know, when you look for somebody to help you become a better man, part of that is you look at things that shape you and the individuals that can shape you to help you make you better. I don't say that, you know, she says you have to do this. It's just by the demonstration of her kindness where she pulls the things out. It's not one of those that's shaking a finger. It's the, oh, babe, well, what do you think? And it's the sweetness, it's the kindness, and how she ends up doing it is very, very important, you know. And she asks me things if I'm getting frustrated. She goes, baby, why don't we just talk about gratitude and be grateful for the things that are going on rather than being louder. Just look at things and just be grateful for the things that you have. And it was never one of those things that was never demeaning. So when you look at those aspects, you know, I just see faith being put in practice every single day, and having those instances where you actually look at that. And then our faith was truly tested. In December of the very first year we had met, we're having our very first family dinner. And I remember her daughter saying something to both of us. And I just told her, I said, well, I'm not going anywhere. Because I was committed at that particular point. I'm like, well, you know, when I look at that gift that God had given me, I look at it very differently than anything else that I've ever been presented. So I look at that as something for me, is very sacred, is a great relationship. So we just had a wonderful time. She ended up going to Brazil once again after that. And that was hard. We talked every single day. We still do a lot of the same type of things, even if we're not together. I send her a love note every morning. And if she's at the house, you know, it's bon dia, mi amor, mi compañera y mi corazón, and start the day with coffee and hugs and kisses, and to be able to, you know, enjoy our day and spending time with one another, really investing time. And October of last year, you know, she was complaining about, you know, having some pain, and went to go see the doctor. And she got diagnosed with colorectal cancer. And that was, you know, you're just like going, I just went to prayer and I said, God, I know that you didn't provide this opportunity for me to take it away so soon, because I lost my dad from cancer. And my mom was a breast cancer survivor, and to be faced with this again, it's just like, I just went into prayer immediately. And it's a peace that then just washed over at that particular point. And when I went over that night, I'm just praying the entire time, you know, because her daughter called and said, might want to come over. And they're talking with the doctors that night. And I just remember, you know, just letting them all know, I'm not going anywhere. I said the same thing that I said the very first Christmas, I'm not going anywhere. And I just remember your daughter saying, well, we're going to see. I was like, well, Danny, trust me, I'm not going anywhere. So we, you know, every day was just being prayerful and singing alongside her. And we just kept on doing a lot of the same type of things. You know, I have a nutrition and fitness coach, and I was just really focused in on making sure that she had good nutrition every day, you know, making sure she eats protein, making sure she's eating well, keeping her strength up as she's going through this really huge battery of radio and chemotherapy. I mean, it was brutal. I mean, she was doing radiation therapy in the morning, you know, then chemo in the afternoon. And for a while there, I mean, it was a lot. And then after she lost her hair, I think that was one of the things she was concerned about. I just told her, I love bald women. You know, I said, that's, you know, but it's just amazing to see that transition. I was with her on her very last treatment, and it was a long day. We were there all day, and it just so happened that the same nurse that had been there at the very beginning, it was he was there again. I remember her ringing the bell, and that was special. And she is just amazing. So when I look at faith, and to be able to have that level of faith restored really speaks volumes to demonstration of faith. Now, does everybody have that same thing with the great outcome? No, but it's just in that time of peace. If you for me, staying in that state has enabled me to really see a lot of different things. One, I have an amazing new family that I just love and adore. They're great. I have a great new church family. It's here in the local area, there's a Brazilian Christian church. So when we go to our church, it's all in Portuguese. So for me, it's just I'm fully immersed. And by the way, anybody asks, yeah, I study Portuguese every day, and I've been doing it for over a year. It's becoming a little bit easier. I still struggle with some things, but I'm getting better. But part of it is the fact of just somebody say, "Why would I do that?" And I'm like, "Why wouldn't I?" You get these amazing gifts, and someone asked me once, "Well, what would your faith be like if something different happened?" And I thought, I had to think about that for a minute. I said, it's still better than the alternative. I still have faith. It's still there. You know, Sometimes the answer is no. And sometimes the answer is, I don't know. And sometimes the answer is yes. So we all just have to be a little bit more patient with one another. I look at it today, for example, as, I'm just going shopping. Maria right now, she's in a little bit of pain. We went out for a really long walk, about a month ago, and she's dealing with something medical that she's got to go see the doctor, do some MRIs. But I just believe that everything's going to be fine eventually. But right now it's just another season, but it's no different from anybody else. The seasons that we go through is still, or should say are still in such a means and a mode that if we don't have that level of faith, we just get rocked by all outside forces. So for me, I go into work every single day. It's amazing. We recently had, I work in manufacturing, and my role is the management rep for our quality program and dealing with all things quality and dealing contracts and all those other types of things. So on an annual basis, we have an outside company that comes in and really takes a look at how we're doing. And, I'm talking to a couple of people, and they go, "No, what do you think is going to happen?" I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, if we have a couple of things coming up, we'll address it. And I'll just say from the outside, they go, they just look at me kind of cockeyed. I go, "What?" And they go, "Who is this guy?" Over a year ago, you're going, "Oh, we're going to have all these problems." And, I was like, "Well, yeah, it's a little bit different when you're doing that level of transition." I said, today, it's just like, we're just going to go ahead and just, things may happen, they may not. We're just going to go ahead and just roll with it. And I think that just gets down to a level of, the people say, "Well, there's a duality in faith." I said, "No, there's not." It becomes, a trifecta. One, by exercising my faith, it gives me a level of peace that I didn't have before, where I'm practicing it every day. So I'm exercising my muscles for my body and my mind. And I said, but I still need to go ahead and do it from the spiritual content, but also need to do it for dealing with individuals though too. And how do I do that? And how am I going to interact with people? And the best way that I can end up doing that is, hey, I'm just got to be as peaceful as I can, even no matter what's going on around me. Am I successful 100% of the time? No, I'm human being just like everybody else. But as I'm taking everybody through this, evolution within the story, I wanted people to be immersed in how the transition transpired and what that looked like for me, and how that has really transformed who I am today, and how it continues to transform. And really, that's what faith is. Faith is transformation in action. And if we don't practice that, they say, well, we don't have faith in people. Yeah, I get that. But if we have faith in something greater than ourselves, it can move mountains, and it does move mountains. And they said, well, we can't see it. You can't see it yet. So that's where I'm at today is, you know what? I'm just trusting. My faith is, someone wants to call it trust. They want to call it something else. That's fine. For me, it's a deep-seated faith, and I know what's going to end up happening at the end. And, God wins. And people can say, well, in my spiritual self, I said, great. That's awesome. I'm glad people have that. But for me, I know where it's at. I just wanted to take people along from my perspective and how they practice it, but to be able to see these levels of faith and triumph are so amazing, and how that they can really transform from within.
I love it. I love it. Brad, one of the things I've been asking all of the authors to do is to include in our content today, in our episode, something, just a gift back to Char Murphy for all of the things she's done for the authors and the community and for the readers by gathering together some of the most amazing authors I've ever met.
Yeah.
And having all of you in a book together. There's something special about her. And I've been asking all the authors to steal the mic away from me here in the podcast and have a conversation with Char directly, as if I'm not even here. Just you and Char together, to give you the moment to kind of share with her directly, because I know she's going to listen to this, and I say it all the time, she's going to cry. I know she's going to cry. But
she will.
What you would like to say directly to her around, again, being part of this project, her influence in your life, whatever you want to speak to, but just to build her up and to acknowledge her as the leader for all of this. I'm just going to hand the mic to you. What would you like to say to Char Murphy?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. Char, what an absolute gem of an individual and woman that you are. And I don't say that lightly. When you end up taking a look at things in life, especially in anything, and I'm a musically inclined individual. So when you have a symphony of these individuals that you have brought together, and that is amazing to be able to identify all these individuals all under one book, one series of books, to me is just, I'm amazed at how you ended doing it. But when you look at it from a musical standpoint, here you have a conductor, a maestro, or from a conductor or someone that is crafting the music. That is something really special. Char, you have done such an amazing job with building a community, and it truly is a community. When you have such individuals that come together with such a vision and a single purpose of mind and vision that you have identified for a series in order to impact people, that's truly special. I hope that you know on how impactful that you have been on me personally, and shared different things with me, and to be able to allow me to share things with you, and to be able to have these opportunities to share with my stories and all these other individual stories, how that they are going to impact the readers and really the world. The world doesn't know sometimes what they need, especially in this particular time. Who knew what was going to end up happening in the Middle East as it stands right now, and why faith is so vital right now. And the next book in the series, if I can end up saying about that, Char, is going to be on love, and how much more needful is that as well. Yeah. So when you impact people in a way of faith and triumph, they can physically see things, and they can be inspired to know that they can do the same. And I appreciate you, and I love you very much.
I love it. I love it. So Brad, you've let the cat out of the bag. I love it. That means we may cross paths again. And I'm hoping so, because that would be wonderful to have, again, another opportunity to talk to you and hear more about your story. I love how you have found faith in yourself. You have found faith in a new relationship. Well, an old relationship that's new again. I love that.
Yeah.
And just how even in the chaos of life, we think there's no pattern or no plan. And then it becomes really crystal clear that there is a plan that we would have never even have imagined would ever come to fruition. But it happens as long as we're open to it and allowing it to happen. I love it. I just love that you're in that spot right now.
Yeah, honestly, it's funny as I look at, if someone would have said, "Hey, Brad," and beginning of 2020 when I moved into the house where I'm at, and I'm just like just feeling the way that I was after getting my diagnosis of PTSD and dealing with all this other stuff. I'm like, well, I would say, yeah, you guys are, you guys been drinking a little bit too much, or you've been rolling those funny cigarettes and, a little bit too much. But I think that is something that is truly amazing to be able to see someone else has a grander scheme for you than you do for yourself.
Yeah, I love it. So Brad, as well, for people that would love to get in touch with you, maybe they are looking for a speaker to come and speak to their group or do something like that. How do we get in touch with you?
Well, the best way to go ahead and get a hold of me, a couple of different ways. They can get a hold of me via my email at bburchnell, the number 2 at gmail.com. Or they can get a hold of me on LinkedIn and take a look at my profile. Happy to go ahead and do there. Or I'm also on Instagram. I do have also a YouTube, From My Heart to Yours. I just haven't done an awful lot with that, but be looking for that soon. And there's going to be some other tweaks that are going to be coming up. I did retire the old website that I had. New one's going to be coming out, but I'm not letting the cat out of the bag. But if you end up taking a look at my LinkedIn profile, you might get some hints.
Oh, well, there you go. There's a lot of cats coming out of bags right now. So I love it.
Small cats.
Small cats coming out of bags are part of the podcast. Brad,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for making time to do this. Again,
my pleasure. Thank you.
Would love to get updates and follow the journey as you guys kind of walk this path together, and we'll be thinking about you and praying for you as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, my friend.
Excellent. Everyone go check out the show notes. Make sure you reach out to Brad. Let him know that you heard him on the podcast. When you buy the book, please leave a great review wherever you purchase the book and tell somebody. And also, hey, it's a great gift idea. Thinking of somebody that you could give this to. Buy an extra copy. It's right there on camera. It's right there. It looks great. These books are beautiful. So make sure you share it as well. So Brad, thank you again for being part of the podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Hey, just jumping on here at the end. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. Living the Next Chapter, talking about Mission Hope Volume 2. You definitely want to pick up a copy of this book. Head over to ourmissionhope.com, missionhope.com. All the information in the show notes. Get a copy of this book. Get one for yourself. Get one for your best friend. And let's encourage these authors as they write and share their stories with us. If you want to connect with me, my name is Dave. livingthenextchapter.com. livingthenextchapter.com. I would love to have you reach out through the website. Let me know what you think of this episode, what you think of the podcast. Let's encourage our fellow authors and let's do something great. Thank you for being here on the podcast. Again, it's the second book from our great friend Shar Murphy, Mission Hope, Inspirational Stories of Faith and Triumph at ourmissionhope.com. Thanks for being here. Catch you on the next one.